Howdy YouTube, and welcome to this episode of the Gunman. So today I'm going to be doing a review and demonstration on the DeVilbiss FLG5 primer gun. It's actually the same gun as the DeVilbiss SGK. They're sold in Australia as SGK, and I think like Brazil and a few other parts of the world they're an SGK, but identical gun. Let's get into it with a bit of an unboxing, and as you can see here, it's all genuine. It was all sealed up. Although I will just make a quick mention that sometimes you will buy spray guns that are genuine that actually have had that seal broken before. I'm also like to make a bit of a mention to there being some fake copy DeVilbisses out there. Not just DeVilbiss, I definitely know there's at least DeVilbiss and SATA. I haven't actually seen any come to my attention iWatters being copied at this point, but I'm sure they are out there. But yeah, just buyer beware, especially on eBay these days. Like you can still buy genuine guns on eBay, but just yeah, make sure that they are a reputable seller. Otherwise, I do just recommend buying locally. Just buy for your local automotive paint supplier. You know, they don't usually get fakes in and not from my experience in Australia anyway. But I got this gun here off Spray Guns Direct in the UK, and yeah, they only do genuine spray guns. They wouldn't sell copies. They do have cheap guns that are, you know, at least original spray guns. So yeah, just a bit of a look inside the box. That's what you can expect when you get one of these guns. When you get the SGK, it actually comes with like some, I don't even know exactly 100% what it is. It's something to do with the internals of the gun. I just found it's like an unnecessary extra part they put in there, but you can't complain. It might over years sort of die out and you might need it, but I'm pretty sure it either goes, that part that comes with the SGK, it either goes in here or like on the inside of where the fan goes. I can't remember offhand. I've personally never had to replace them, so awesome looking gun, you know, like they've got a nice finish to it, and you won't be able to beat the price. Bang for your buck and quality with this gun it's right up there. Like I hadn't used these guns for probably 2 or 3 years, and I'd just about forgotten how good they are. Like I used to rave about my SGK, I used to use it all the time. 1.4 for 2K dress gloss, base coat, clear coat, everything. And then I got this FLG5, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's that's why I love these guns, because they actually are absolutely awesome guns. Like massive fan on them. Build quality is, I'd like to say second to none, but you're probably going to get a slightly better gun out of the SATA jet. But is it worth twice the money? I honestly wouldn't say so. You know, have a look at the size of that fan, and I wasn't exactly like holding the gun right back or anything. I wouldn't be surprised if some people would actually want to wind that fan control in a little bit. So I've actually just got a little bit of footage here of my new apprentice, Alan Jones. Some of you guys will probably be familiar with him from the GQ Patrol project that we did, the garage respray. He managed to get an apprenticeship in my workshop on my recommendation. He's a performance mechanic by trade, just a real enthusiast, and yeah, it's hard to get like young kids that are really keen to learn this trade. And the position that we were in at work at this time was just we didn't have like a second or third year apprentice who can continue doing the prime up, so we actually needed someone who can prep and can prime basically straight away. And like if you couldn't learn it in 3 weeks, well then you weren't really the right man for the job. And unfortunately the last guy that we had didn't last. So yeah, we got Alan Jones in, and yeah, I'm really glad to have him in. As you can see there, like just spraying low pressure, and he just smashed that primer on. I just said to him, man, just hose it on, like get it on nice and wet, because yeah, I like to get a nice amount of primer filler on there. It gives me a fair bit to block into, so that I'm not cutting through and having to re-prime all over the place. As I say, just 1 bar pressure is all I prime with these days. I found if you go much higher, you're just going to get overspray all through the workshop, and that's not nice to your fellow employees who are walking through. And also just you go through more material, and yeah, like the lower pressure, you're actually going to get more material on the panel, less overspray, and yeah, it gets you a thicker film build. As far as the rest of the settings go, I just had that fan fully open, fluid fully open, and yeah, low pressure, and just smashed it on. nice looking gun, as you can see. One thing that some people don't like is that when you take the air cap off, there's like no retaining ring to keep the front section of the air cap attached to the ring that screws onto the back of the gun, or the front of the gun, sorry. To me, it is like a really minor issue, if an issue at all. You know, I wouldn't really say it is an issue. Like, yeah, most of the top line guns do have like a little clip type thing to keep that air cap in to the ring. But yeah, as you can see, like, this is an absolute ripper gun. I'm actually at the point now where I want to get another one for colour and base coat and clear and stuff like that. Yeah, I used to have it in 1.4. I don't think they come in anything smaller than a 1.4. I may be wrong, but it's all you need, really. And these things are an absolute workhorse. I did a review on the Sardajet 100B RP 1.8mm recently, and someone made a comment on that, and they said, man, you've got to revisit the FLG5 because they're an absolute beast. He just said, man, like, I put this thing absolutely through its paces. It's just been like a shop slut type thing and just gets beaten around, and it still goes hard. So, and that was exactly the same experience I had last time. Alan Jones has actually got another one of these, which is an SGK. I'll show some photos at the end of this video just so you can have a look at it. And honestly, I don't know if it's an original or a fake version of the SGK, but it just looks so different than mine. He was pretty adamant that it was a fake, but then after coming in and putting it side by side towards mine, he goes, man, this is spraying just as good as yours. Because he goes, it must have been like the primer that he was using that wasn't really spraying that well, because he was using some high chem stuff. It's just a cheap primer, it's not really that good, you know. I just also like to make quick mention of using infrared curing lights. Like this job here, I painted it before my lunch break. It took 40 minutes because I had those infrared curing lights sitting back a little bit as not to overheat it. But if you are going to use infrared curing lights, it's pretty important to use them between each stage, and also try and dry that filler out too, because even though the filler is hard enough to sand, sometimes it can actually still have some solvents inside there, and it will actually still continue to shrink back. So bake that filler first, give it 5 minutes or so, and then cool it right down. Put your first coat of primer on, bake it for 5 or so minutes. 3 to 5 minutes I've found is okay, but just hold them back, cool it back down, put your next coat on, and yeah, rinse and repeat, obviously. So you're making sure each coat is dry so that you don't just go and smash 4 coats of primer on. You've got this big film build with solvents all through from top to bottom. Then you put your lights on, it will start bubbling. I've done it too many times, like 1 or 2 too many times than I'd like to admit, but it does happen. Sometimes you're just like, oh no, it'll be right. And yeah, you do have to be extremely careful when using infrared curing lights. Otherwise, just leave your primer overnight. Once it's been left overnight and it has mostly cured, it is actually a good practice to come in the morning, especially in the colder months, and just give that primer a bake, just so that you're not going to get as much shrinkage. I did decide to just include a little bit of paintwork footage of this car at the end of this video, just why not? And that's obviously using the DeVilbiss Vigilante GDI Pro Light. That's my go-to gun for clear coats these days. Still absolutely love it. And yeah, we'll finish off with a bit of a photo of Alan's SGK, which, as I say, I'm not really familiar with this look of the SGK apart from this one that I've seen. So if you've got one and you think it is original, let us know. If anyone knows any more info on that, it'll be. So closing thoughts on the gun: if you were in the market for a primer gun, you absolutely could not do wrong by buying one of these. If you were thinking of waiting until I did my top 10 review before you got one, I'll just give you the inside tip: you can't do wrong by buying this. Absolutely can't do wrong. It hits that value for money versus quality threshold perfectly for me. If you went much cheaper than a gun like this, I wouldn't trust that it has actually been built properly. So yeah, absolutely gets 2 massive thumbs up from Gunny. Here's a couple of photos of Alan Jones, SGK. As I say, if you've seen one of these and you think it's the real deal, make sure you do let us all know down in the comments below. Until next time, get out there and paint some shit. Thanks for watching, and this has been another Gunman production. Goodbye.